the Giants cut James Bradberry, and people were. This was kind of a move in the works for a while. Like, we knew he was going to get cut eventually. We just never knew when. I thought this was going to happen much sooner, but the reasoning for people wondering out there why James Bradberry got cut, because he is a very good corner, is that the Giants only had $7 million in cap space, and they could not sign any of their rookies without cutting James Bradberry.
Damn.
So cutting him freed up $10 million in cap space, which then allowed them to sign Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal and all their other rookies, which is a good thing, but you also lost a good corner, and I feel for Giants fans because James Bradberry is a good corner. Dave Gettleman is just the dark cloud still looming over the Giants with this move with Dave Gettleman's tenure, even though that dark cloud won't be looming for long. But you look at the contracts he handed out: 4 years, $72 million to Kenny Golladay, 3 years, $63 million to Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams is making $27 million this year for somebody who's just a good
27?
player.
27?
Yeah.
Holy
he's not a great,
shit.
he's just a good player. So Dave Gettleman has done disastrous things to the Giants organization, and now Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are trying to pick up the scraps, and that's what this James Bradberry move is. It wasn't a bad move. It was a good move. This is something they had to do to fix the team, but now it really brings into question their secondary. Their secondary in total has 107 combined starts. To put that into perspective, Darius Slay has 124 alone. You're looking at Adoree Jackson, Cordell Flott, Aaron Robinson, third-round pick last year, Rodarius Williams, Darnay Holmes, and their safeties I like. Xavier McKinney and Julian Love, I like that, but their corners are god-awful. Adoree Jackson had a good year last year, but history has shown he gets injured, he's inconsistent, you can't count on him, and outside of Adoree Jackson, you can't count on anybody on the Giants secondary. Yeah. So their secondary is going to be one of the worst in the league, like without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's not only like the cornerbacks, the players they have, but it's also like their position. Adoree Jackson's an outside corner. He's a boundary corner without a doubt, but Darnay Holmes is a slot corner. Jaron Williams, he didn't play much, but he split time between slot and out wide. He's about 5'9", 5'10", and their third-round pick, Cordell Flott, is 6'1", 175, but played mostly in the slot at LSU. So it's not like, I understand James Bradberry like that, to cut him to sign the rookies and whatnot, but he was one of their very few legitimate outside boundary cornerbacks. And the Giants this season, they're going into it knowing they're not going to compete. So it makes sense, probably from both sides. Bradberry maybe goes, signs to the contender, while the Giants want to play some of their younger guys. And you mentioned it. His contract was probably not the best one that Gettleman gave out, which is one of the reasons why he's not with the Giants anymore, even though he did resign instead of get fired. I'm not sure if you mentioned the contract. It was 3 years, $43 million with $30 guaranteed. Signed that in 2020, gets cut in 2022. He was phenomenal in 2020, though. I'll give him credit. You know, if any team out there looking for cornerback help, if they think he'd get back to that 2020 form,
he probably won't, though.
He probably won't, but that season he allowed 450 yards on 44 receptions. I mean, he was one of like a legitimate shutdown corner. I remember Terry McLaurin struggled against him for sure. And then in 2021, this past season, he allowed 730 yards on 60 receptions, so he wasn't nearly as good, obviously, as 2020, but Bradberry still has the ability to come in and contribute to a team. You know, the Chiefs look like they got McDuffie, so maybe not as bad, but he could play slot and they could bring up Bradberry to play corner. So there's a few teams out there that have Super Bowl hopes or think they can make a deep playoff run, and that's going to be a chance for Bradberry to go and contribute. The Giants, just the way their team has been constructed, the way their team is right now, this is just Joe Shane cutting dead weight. You know, the money is a part, but it's also just kind of getting rid of all of that Gettleman nonsense. It's similar to what Joe Douglas did when McCagnon left, getting rid of Le'Veon Bell, and trading Leonard Williams, who he didn't want to pay $27 million for. So this is just the new GM coming in, cutting dead weight from the old GM, the mistakes he made. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Leonard Williams get cut next season. I'm not sure how many years he has left on his contract, but the fact he's getting $27 million as an interior defensive lineman, which is one of the reasons why we traded him away. So it wasn't surprised, like you mentioned. This has been a rumor that's been going around for some months now. A bit surprising that nobody, even wanted to offer a 5th or 6th round pick for him. Maybe that
a Texans trade fell through.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it was just that dead cap hit that teams are worried over, that cap hit in general they didn't want to take on, because it was, I want to say, around $11-12 million. But for someone to be able to be a starting boundary corner, he's going to get picked up. But yeah, it's just something that makes sense for both sides.
You're right. And teams that I have listed out here that maybe can get him, the Steelers need help at corner. The Raiders need help at corner desperately after losing Casey Hayward. The Patriots also, the Bengals, if they want to go out and get a corner, even though I don't know if they'll do it because they drafted Dax Hill and he's going to be their slot. They have a Woozier. Maybe it can happen.
I mean, they have Eli Apple. They have Mike Hilton to play slot, who was pretty solid last year, but he would be an upgrade over Apple.
Arizona is another team who they need cornerback help. But the team that I want James Bradberry to go to is Philadelphia Eagles. Darius Slay with James Bradberry.
Stay in division.
Defensive line is great. I think that would be awesome. I think the Eagles, to me, are already the best team in the NFC East.
Yeah.
They have the best roster. James Bradberry goes there. It just makes them that much better. I think he fits with them the best.
Him and Darius Slay would be a really good cornerback duo, and obviously they have one of the best defensive lines in the NFL too. They have been missing that second corner for a couple seasons now. They brought in Slay last year, and who's phenomenal for them. One of the best corners in the NFL. But yeah, that's definitely a team that makes sense. Giants fans would be sick if he goes to Philadelphia, stays in division. Obviously, between them and Dallas, I don't know who they hate more. But that would sting for a lot of Giants fans.
But outside of Philly, the Commanders could be a team. If I know they signed William Jackson, they have Kendall Fuller, but he can be an option. I wouldn't sleep on the Rams. The Rams tend to get every big name guy.
Facts.
They need help at corner too, next to Jalen Ramsey. If you have Jalen Ramsey and Bradberry, that becomes very scary. So there are a lot of teams here, but I think if I were to bet on a team, I think the Eagles probably land him.
The Eagles, yeah,
Darius Slay has already pitched to him to come to Philly already. So there's that.
Of course.
But I think he probably could come there.